The Twisted Case of Sasha Samsudean.
Hey guys, I'm Sasha from 407apartments.com, and I'm also this year's AAGO Education Chair. I'd like to invite all of you guys out to Lisa-Palooza, an event that's being held on September 27th at the Plaza Live on Bumby Avenue in downtown Orlando.
This surveillance footage captures Sasha Samsudean's final moment on Earth after a night out with her friends in downtown Orlando, Florida. Even with the surveillance cameras scattered everywhere, night guards patrolling the neighborhood, and the carefully installed high-tech security doors, exactly 3 hours after this footage, the police would find Sasha's dead body lying cold on her bed, with zero clues as to who committed her murder. This is a mind-bending case. If we must properly dissect the story, then we must start at the beginning. Let's get started. Orlando in Central Florida is a thriving metropolis with a reputation for warm weather, iconic amusement parks, and a rich cultural heritage. It is the third largest city in Florida and one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, with a metropolitan population of over 2.5 million. This is 27 years old Sasha Samsudean, and she lived here. Sasha grew up in Central Florida and got a job as the social media manager for Pearson in Orlando immediately after graduating from the University of Florida. She was an active and dedicated volunteer and member of the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando.
Hi, I'm Sasha with Have to Offer.
This is Sasha in one of her promotional volunteer works. A co-worker of Sasha's remarked that she was an extremely smart, educated, and motivated young woman will quickly underestimate and judge her due to the way she looked. One of her friends described her as loving and modest, as well as outgoing and enthusiastic. In mid-2015, Sasha moved into one of the coolest apartments in Uptown Place on North Orange Avenue. This apartment has state-of-the-art fitness center, a swimming pool, beautiful landscaped gardens, and cutting-edge security. Each apartment is fitted with special digital deadbolt lock that required a unique access code. There were also keyless entry fobs, security cameras, and a night guard for added peace of mind. Sasha was so excited, as much as relieved to have her own place, and she decided she didn't mind living alone after all. She believed that Uptown Place was not just one of the coolest places to live, but also one of the safest neighborhoods in the city. On the last day of Orlando City's soccer 2015 season, Friday, October 16th, every soccer fan in town was planning on attending the game. Sasha and her pals wore purple to the Orlando City Lions game to show their support. After the Lions' victory, everyone reassembled at Sidebar to party. While they partied, strangely, at exactly 12:30 a.m., Sasha told Anthony that she was leaving and promised to meet him up for breakfast the next morning. At that point, Anthony had no idea if she was going home or to another bar. He assumed it was just another night out, one in which people would arrive, have fun, and then leave, perhaps to meet up again later. After not hearing from Sasha for several hours, Anthony reached out to two of her closest friends, Katie and Megan, who had also not heard from Sasha. Remember, Anthony and Sasha had planned to have breakfast together the following morning, but she didn't show up and wasn't answering her phone. It was extremely out of character for Sasha to be unavailable for so long, given that she had a baby shower to attend that day. Sasha and her three friends had planned to meet at her Uptown parking garage apartment. After waiting for a while, carefully looking through the parking lot, they located Sasha's vehicle. They peeped inside and noticed that the baby shower present Sasha got earlier was still inside the car. They sneaked in through the main entrance and pounded on her apartment door on the third level. Sasha's friends were worried that she'd been in an accident, so they contacted the police and hospitals when she failed to appear. Sasha's description fit no female anyone had ever seen before. At this point, Sasha's friend Anthony picked up his phone and dialed 911. Immediately, some police officers were dispatched to the location. When they arrived, they were greeted by the estate security Stephen Duxbury. The security guard greeted them upon their arrival. Even though he wasn't on duty at the time, he immediately understood the nature of their visit and secured approval for their entry into Sasha's apartment, where he knew her friends were waiting. A quick look inside Sasha's apartment revealed no signs of struggle or Sasha's presence, and everything was operating as expected. After that, one of the officers went to check out the master suite. There was something creepy about the way the blanket was rolled up into a tube, and it wasn't just the shape. A slack hand and a mane of dark hair were peeking out from behind the comforter. Sasha Samsudean had been found after being severely assaulted, raped, and strangled. The autopsy revealed that she had a broken neck. Sasha had fought forcefully against her attacker, and her hands and arms showed it. No sign of a forced entrance was found at the crime scene, suggesting that Sasha may have unknowingly let the person who killed her inside her home. This revelation, which would come days after her death, fueled the families and the Samsudeans' grief and wrath over the next few days. The key fob to the building, her cell phone, and her purse were all missing. The examination of Sasha's body revealed that cleaning products had been deliberately applied to her skin in an attempt to remove DNA evidence. The apartment had a distinct bleach odor. The sheets on her bed had discolored areas where the cleaning solution had been spilled, proving that whoever tried to cover their tracks had not been as successful as they had imagined. A condom package was found on the floor next to her bed. 2 thumbprints were found on the bottom of the toilet seat lid, and a third was found on her nightstand. The authorities found many prints of size 9 shoes when they swept the apartment's hardwood floors. While that was going on, Sasha had her DNA extracted from her chest. Newly married, 33 years old Stephen Duxbury had worked as a guard at the Uptown apartment where Sasha lived for around 5 months. He served his country well in the military. He had served in the Air Force and earlier that year gotten his security guard license. He told police in an interrogative session that Sasha had shown up at the Uptown Place entrance at exactly 1:45 a.m. without any identification or key fob the morning before with 2 other women. The 2 young women were quite worried that Sasha would get in safely, but he couldn't help but laugh to himself because he was used to dealing with drunks who had forgotten their key fobs in similar situations. Investigations and surveillance footage acquired by the police shows that the 2 women accompanied Sasha to the entrance of the Uptown apartment. However, the security guard, Stephen Duxbury, told police that he had searched several floors before finding Sasha outside her apartment, trying and failing to enter her code into the door's keypad. She wanted to check if her car key was in there, so she invited him to accompany her. He finally gave in to the frustration of having to babysit a drunk and accompanied her to the parking lot elevator. But just as they were about to enter, she remembered the code. Only this time, it was incorrect. He told her he'd give her space to keep trying while he did another sweep of the building. When he came back, she was no longer there. Later that morning, when he saw her in the corridor walking with a man he didn't recognize and assumed she must have cracked the code. With this new piece of information, the investigation into Sasha's whereabouts has automatically shifted to verifying Stephen's story. After going through hours of CCTV footage, finally, Sasha was captured from the street outside the Attic nightclub, wobbling as she made her way through the crowd. After a careful observation, no one in Sasha's inner circle recognized the 2 women who joined her in the next footage. The CCTV footage was immediately published by the police with an appeal for the women to come forward. Julia Goff and Haley Messmore went to the police within hours and gave statements. While waiting for an Uber, the young ladies explained that they spotted Sasha. She was staggering and obviously drunk. They were worried that she was about to get into a car with a group of men. When the girls got closer, they saw that she had no money, no ID, and no way to get home. They offered Sasha a ride in their Uber back to her place. The 2 people did it out of the goodness of their hearts. The ladies waited outside and ensured she successfully got in. Sasha was last seen passing through the gate and headed into her apartment. The ladies then left, having determined that she was secure. The woman's story matched Stephen's. The nature of Sasha's brutal attack raised the possibility that this could be a crime of passion. The investigation shifted to questioning any guys with whom Sasha has had romantic relationships. The police questioned Taylor Unsinger, one of Sasha's exes, but because his DNA didn't match the killer's, he was ruled out of the investigation, and his name was cleared. At this point, officers had already collected the Uptown Place videotape from the off-site security company and were now reviewing every second on it. What they'd find would be enough to send shivers down the spines of every Uptown inhabitant and make this case front-page news around the country. At 1:46 a.m., Sasha is observed strolling through Uptown Place. At 1:48 a.m., she walks up the stairs and is out of sight of all cameras for the next 20 minutes, during which time an unknown man approaches from behind her and asks if she's okay, to which she happily replies, "Yes, and thank you." At 1:48 a.m., once again, Stephen Duxbury arrives, this time looking for Sasha. Another camera catches Sasha as she seemingly runs up the stairs as though she was trying to escape or run from someone or something. You can hear her shoes clacking as she does so. At 2:25 a.m., a few seconds later, Stephen Duxbury is seen pursuing her. At 2:27 a.m., she reappears, this time strolling with Stephen down the stairs to the first-floor parking lot garage, where the two of them can be heard speaking pleasantly before leaving the building. They ascend the stairs to the garage on the third floor and return when Sasha, presumably, recalls the code. This is the final recording of Sasha. There was no footage of Sasha with any unknown man. Sasha was last seen with Stephen Duxbury. At 5:05 a.m., Stephen is seen entering the third-floor parking garage, and he is seen re-entering again at 5:13 a.m. At this point, all leads had been exhausted, and the case almost going cold. Just at that moment, the police saw something out of the ordinary. The police saw Stephen Duxbury. Stephen is seen carrying 3 white trash bags as he enters the second-floor garage. 2 minutes later, he returns and packs his items into his shoulder bag before exiting the building at 6:40 in the morning. Officers inquired with the building manager about whether or not a security guard's duties typically included bringing out the trash. There is a 90-minute black hole between 5:14 a.m. and 6 o'clock a.m., and Stephen told the officers that his shift finished at 6 o'clock a.m., between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6:36 a.m., when not a single security camera picked up Stephen, and no keycard swipes were logged. After obtaining a warrant to search Stephen's residence, police contacted him to schedule another interview and polygraph. The polygraph examiner asked Stephen if he had ever been arrested before administering the test. Stephen now reveals that he had been arrested as a juvenile, but that it was a misunderstanding, a jacked-up case. In the following bizarre account, Stephen explains that he was falsely accused of assault by a girl with serious emotional issues. The polygraph examiner inquired about his health history. Stephen detailed a stabbing incident, the extraction of wisdom teeth, an emergency appendectomy, and a mysterious case of cramping. He went on to detail the difficulties he had encountered as a security guard, including dealing with drunks and people determined to break the law by fighting and swimming in the pool after closing time, as well as having a kidney stone removed, whooping cough, lung problems, migraines, dizziness, and anxiety. He presents himself as a lawful and worried authority figure, just trying to do what he's supposed to do despite all the scumbags trying to stop him. A female tenant said that Stephen had followed her back to her apartment while acting suspiciously. These concerns had been communicated to Uptown Place and condominium designs, as well as crucial security concerns, but no action had been taken. After that, Stephen took the polygraph. He was questioned about whether or not he had entered Sasha's apartment, whether or not he was responsible for her death, and whether or not he had taken anything from her residence. He denied answering every question, and his denials all pointed to dishonesty. He fumbled over the subject of whether or not he knew the circumstances of Sasha's death. There were several options presented to him regarding whether or not she choked, and his response showed tremendous dishonesty. At the time of this interview, no details of Sasha's death have been made public by the police. The police eventually discovered that Steven had bite or scratch marks on both of his arms, one of which was clearly a fresh bite mark. He said that he had skin irritations due to his anxious condition. The police got warrant to search Steven's place. At first, everything seemed normal, until they stumbled on a fresh piece of evidence. This new discovery would open up and create a headway in the capture of Sasha Samsudean's killer.
And that evidence is going to be in. It includes some shoes that were found at the defendant's house, as well as some statements he made during a polygraph test. And earlier today, I was talking to our legal analyst, and he explains just how big of a deal this is.
These are the discoveries. The police stumbled on a pair of size 9 Skechers shoes that matched the impression left on Sasha's floor. After 3 days of investigation, it was concluded that Steven Duxbury's thumbprints were located under the toilet seat. Steven's DNA matched the sample taken from Sasha's chest, and the trash bags he was seen carrying in the CCTV footage matched the ones Sasha had used in her apartment. The only true mystery was how Steven got into Sasha's apartment. While fighting for her life, Miss Sasha never had a chance to write anymore, so she had simply said her ex-boyfriend's name as her final message to him. The police suspect that at around 5:13 a.m., Steven entered Sasha's apartment while she was still asleep by disabling her security system. He raped and battered her to death before finally strangling her. He had used bleach to try to get rid of the evidence, and then he packed up what he could into trash bags and put them in his car to be disposed of later.
17th, Sasha Samsudean was found murdered in her apartment. Today, our detectives have arrested Steven Duxbury, the security guard from Uptown Apartments, in connection with this case. Steven Duxbury is charged with first-degree murder, sexual battery, and burglary to an occupied dwelling. As a security guard, he used his access to prey on someone who was very vulnerable.
In November of 2015, 33-year-old Steven Duxbury was arrested and later charged with first-degree murder, sexual battery, and burglary. Orlando's police chief, John Mina, described the killing as a crime of opportunity, committed by a man employed by a firm meant to provide security for the tenants of the Uptown Place apartments. Steven Duxbury received a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the murder of Sasha Samsudean, after a 7-day trial and only 4 hours of deliberation. To this day, Ken and Tara Samsudean are carrying on their daughter's legacy by supporting other families who have lost a loved one to violent crime. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.